Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 7th overall spot. Inside of today's video, I'll be going in-depth into my thought process as I make every single pick inside of this draft, as well as my thoughts on the draft as a whole. There are going to be some picks that I really like inside of this draft, as well as some picks that I dislike, and I want to make sure that I talk you guys through that as well. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 7th overall spot. So the roster settings of today's draft goes as follows. So it's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So the 7th overall pick is not my favorite pick in fantasy football drafts. Now, you can win your fantasy football league drafting from any pick inside of the draft. It is not that the 7th pick is significantly worse than the 12th pick, the first pick. It's just based upon preference, in my opinion. I personally believe that I want to be closer to the edge of the draft, that being either the 10th, 11th, or 12th pick, or the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd pick, because I believe I can control the draft better, and I feel like I have a lot more control over my picks when I'm drafting on the turn. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think about it. Where's your favorite place to draft in 2022? So the draft starts with Jonathan Taylor, followed by Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, and Cooper Kupp. The first pick of the draft being Jonathan Taylor. Nothing strange there. I really do believe at the 102, Christian McCaffrey should be the pick. If I was the team at 5th overall, I would be running directly to the goddamn bank if I selected Christian McCaffrey at the 105, because if he stays healthy, he could easily be the #1 running back in all fantasy football, and he could easily outscore the running back #2 in terms of points per game by 4 potential points, which is a humongous boost. So looking at our pick here at the 107, 2 wide receivers have went, and we have seen 4 running backs, a very basic start to the first round. Here, I think you're perfectly fine going either wide receiver or running back. For this draft, we're going to go ahead and go with a wide receiver in the first round. I really do think Justin Jefferson could easily finish as the #1 wide receiver at the end of the season. People right now, some analysts are even ranking him ahead of Cooper Kupp. I personally still have Cooper Kupp ranked as the wide receiver 1, but Justin Jefferson certainly has that upside, and this offense does look to be a little bit more pass heavy under their new head coach, so I like Justin Jefferson a ton at the 107. After I go with Justin Jefferson, his teammate Dalvin Cook goes off at the 108, followed by Najee Harris, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, and Joe Mixon close out the first round. The second opens with Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Alvin Kamara. So in the first round of a lot of drafts, I have tend to notice, now it didn't happen in this draft, that Travis Kelce is actually falling into that first pocket of the second round of the first 3 picks. In my opinion, while that didn't happen in this draft, right, Travis Kelce went at the 110. If Kelce falls to the 2-1, the 2-2, the 2-3, I am drafting him instantly. I really do believe that that positional advantage is very strong in fantasy football. To me, it's more important in a 10-team league or an 8-team league to have that huge advantage at tight end. Not as important in a 12-team league, but in the second round, man, I would be so excited to draft Travis Kelce at the 110. I think it's a perfectly acceptable pick as well. So looking back up on the board here, we do have Justin Jefferson. So we are more likely here to go running back. But again, I don't want to force anything. If I don't like one of the running backs here, then I will happily draft CeeDee Lamb. So looking at the running backs available, we have Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott. To me, I think it is perfectly acceptable to select either Aaron Jones or Saquon Barkley. I've noticed recently that people are starting to get higher and higher, like fucking Snoop Dogg, on A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones's backup. I think A.J. Dillon, there's a reason to draft him, right? I think he has a lot of upside, but I still do believe Aaron Jones is the #1 running back on this team. And I do think now with Devontae Adams gone, Aaron Jones could see a crazy amount of targets in this offense. That was the case in the past when Devontae Adams was banged up. So I like Aaron Jones. You could have easily drafted Saquon Barkley there as well. And if you are a believer in Javonte Williams, I think that's an acceptable pick as well. So after Aaron Jones, we see CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel. We see Mark Andrews, Saquon Barkley, and Javonte Williams close out the second. The third round opens with Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Allen, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Leonard Leonard Fournette, and Kyle Pitts. I will continue to harp on this in every single mock draft video that I believe you are drastically hurting your team by drafting a quarterback inside of the top 4 rounds. Once the 5th round opens at the 507, I am perfectly fine drafting a quarterback, but I think here you are really hurting your starting roster by drafting a quarterback. It is so easy for a guy that you can get in the 5th round, like potentially Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, to outscore Josh Allen, that it just makes no sense to reach that high up and take a guy like Josh Allen. In my opinion, in a 1-quarterback league, obviously in a 2-quarterback superflex league, you want to hammer in on the quarterback position. So right now, our draft is very basic to start off. We have 1 running back and 1 wide receiver. Look at the running backs here. I believe there is a drastic fall off the edge of the earth, like what Christopher Columbus thought was going to happen if he sailed too far, and I think James Conner is the clear pick here. I like the wide receivers. I don't love taking a tight end in the 3rd round. I do like Kittle. I like Waller, but I just don't want to take them in the 3rd round. If there was a tight end I'd take in the 3rd round, it would be Pitts. So we could easily go wide receiver here, but there is a strong fall off for me. I just don't want to be taking these guys, really. These running backs, David Montgomery, Cam Akers, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall. Sure, they have upside. Sure, one of these guys could be the #1 running back, but I just feel significantly safer with James Conner. I know a lot of people don't like James Conner because he scored so many fucking touchdowns last year, and people don't think he's going to be able to repeat that. Even if he does not end up repeating that same amount of crazy touchdown total, I think he's going to make up for it by catching more passes now with Chase Edmonds gone, and he is very clearly the lead workhorse back on this team. So after James Conner, we see Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Terry McLaurin, Higgins, George Kittle. The 4th round opens with Justin Herbert the pervert, Darren Waller, Michael Pittman Jr., Breece Hall, and Travis Etienne. Team 8 going with the big dick strategy of drafting 4 running backs in a row: Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Cam Akers, Travis Etienne. Maybe it works for them. That's not the strategy I was looking to employ in this draft. So now we have our 2 starting running backs, and now it's time to fade away from running back because, again, I think maybe J.K. Dobbins could be a league winner, right? But I'm not betting on that. I don't think that's the most likely outcome. I think the most likely outcome here is that you should be hammering the wide receiver position. If you want to go with Dalton Schultz, definitely don't do it in the 4th round. So we're going wide receiver, and again, we're staying away from quarterback until the 5th round. So we're going to go ahead and go with Mr. Deontay Johnson or Jalen Waddle. DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton would be my top targets here. I think you can pick any of them, and I would be very excited with that player. It's very unlikely that any of them fall to us at the 507, but if they do, I would be so excited. So here, I'm going to go with my highest ranked wide receiver, which right now is Deontay Johnson. If you're a little bit nervous about, kissing titties Trubisky, Kenny Small Hands Pickett, maybe they're not going to be able to get things done, and you want to pivot off of the wide receiver core in Pittsburgh, maybe you want to do that. I personally think Deontay Johnson is going to be fine, but if you're scared, go with Waddle. He's going to be just fine with Tyreek. DJ Moore's the clear #1 in Carolina. Cortland Sutton, I think, is the #1 in Denver with Russell Wilson. I'm going to go Deontay Johnson, but you really could go anywhere at the wide receiver position there. Besides DK Metcalf, I think DK Metcalf does have that upside for those big weeks, right? I really think DK Metcalf could potentially have like 3 games where he scores 30+ points, but he's also going to have games where he is virtually irrelevant, doing the John Cena, you can't see me, because this motherfucker will be invisible, and it's going to be very hard every week to determine when to start him, because even against bad matchups, he might just succeed against the hard matchups, and then against the cupcake matchups, he might just suck because Geno Smith doesn't play well, or Horsecock Drew Lock doesn't play well. So I'm pretty scared of DK Metcalf in the 4th round. To me, he's a very clear stay away in redraft. So after I go with Deontay Johnson comes Patty Mahomes, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, J.K. Dobbins, Brandon Cooks, and Amari Cooper. I will continue to hamper on this and talk about this in every video as well. Taking Antonio Gibson in the 5th round, I genuinely would rather be kicked in the cock by someone wearing spikes on their foot than draft Antonio Gibson. I think this guy is going to be a huge swing and a miss, and there's no reason to take him in the 5th round. On Underdog, the sponsor of today's video, I'm pointing at him right now. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Antonio Gibson's like a 9th round pick, so don't take Antonio Gibson in the 5th round. He, isn't looking good at all in training camp and preseason. There's very clear X's around his name. Like, there is no fucking reason to draft Antonio Gibson, in my opinion. If you want to go back on running back, I guess the only acceptable running back would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I don't like him at the 507. I would like him later. You could go tight end. You could go quarterback as well, because I like Kyler Murray. I like Jalen Hurts. I like these guys a ton. At wide receiver, I like Allen Robinson, Hollywood Brown, Chris Godwin. So we're going to go quarterback here. I think that makes the most sense, and go with my highest ranked quarterback here, which will be Kyler Murray. Now, some people may get nervous about drafting James Conner and Kyler Murray on the same team, and if you are super nervous about that, again, I don't go into the draft thinking I need to do that. I think it's fine because there's a chance Kyler throws a touchdown to James Conner, and I do believe that this Arizona Cardinals offense is going to be one of the more high-scoring offenses in the National Football League. I think the addition of Hollywood Brown as well. Hollywood Brown, I kind of messed that up a little bit. The addition of Hollywood Brown, having D-Hop come back after a couple of games of a suspension. They have Rondale Moore as well, who I like as a upside play. So I think Kyler Murray is going to be just fine. If you don't want to go with a quarterback and a running back on the same team, which again is acceptable, you could easily draft either Joe Burrow, Mr. Joe Shiesty, or Jalen Hurts in that spot as well. So we went ahead and went with Kyler Murray. After that, we see Joe Burrow, Dalton Schultz, Elijah Mitchell, Mike Williams, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Hollywood Brown, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So now that Dalton Schultz is gone, I'm kind of looking away from tight end. Now, does that mean that I hate Goddard, Ertz, Hockenson? No, it just means that in the 6th round, I just don't think that there is value in taking them there. I would rather just not take Hockenson and then say get Ertz 2 rounds later. We probably wouldn't draft Ertz because we have 2 Cardinals players already, but you get what I'm saying. Like, in a vacuum, if we're just sitting here, we don't have any players, I would say to just wait on tight end, in my opinion. So we're going wide receiver or running back again. This is a running back zone that I don't love. A.J. Dillon, obviously, is the handcuffed Aaron Jones. You don't want to be handcuffing your fucking running back in the 6th round. So we're just going to go ahead and go with a wide receiver. Michael Thomas is dealing with hamstring issues, and that does kind of make me a little bit more nervous. I still think he's draftable, but I'm going to fade away from him right now. Juju also a little bit banged up, which makes me a little bit worried. So I'm going to go with the riskier pick. The safer pick here is Adam Thielen, but I'm going to go with the riskier option that I think has more upside because, you know, Adam Thielen, I think he could finish as a top 12 wide receiver, but we already have Justin Jefferson, and there's also there's zero chance actually that Adam Thielen's the number 1 receiver in the offense, where there's a very good chance Rashad Master Bateman is the number 1 wide receiver in the Baltimore Ravens offense. And Lamar Jackson looking built, you know, he added that muscle in the offseason. His arm looks stronger, looks like he could throw the ball deeper, more accurately. I love Rashad Bateman this year. After Bateman, we see Miles Sanders, Michael Thomas, TJ Hockenson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette, A.J. Dillon, Jalen Hurts, Damian Harris, Adam Thielen, Kareem Hunt, Russell Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Cordero Patterson, who I'm starting to feel like I need to move him up. Like, I'm starting to feel a little bit of steam on Cordero Patterson because while he had like an anomaly season last year, right? How old is Cordero Patterson? Let's click on him right now. This man is 31 years old. So presumably he's like 30 last year. What player in the NFL has ever had a breakout at the age of fucking 30? It just doesn't happen. So that's a crazy season in itself. He's not being drafted like he finished as a top 12 running back last year. He's getting drafted at a discount. I understand they have Kyle Pitts, they have Drake London, so I'm not saying you need to draft Cordero Patterson, but I'm starting to feel like, man, maybe Cordero Patterson is going to be a humongous value in drafts, especially when he falls into like the 8th or 9th round. So again here, I do like some of these tight ends. I like Goddard, I like Ertz. I just don't feel like I should take them at the 707. So we're either going running back or wide receiver here. Again, I feel very comfortable with our running back core, and there may be some question marks with Rashad Bateman. So I think I want to draft another wide receiver here. Some guys that we can rotate in with, obviously Justin Jefferson being the focal wide receiver, and then maybe if Deontay Johnson doesn't have the greatest matchup, you can just go ahead and throw someone else in. So here we're going to go with my main man, Gabriel Davis. Now, Gabriel Davis, in terms of best ball fantasy football, he's a very hot topic because he goes in the 4th round. But in redraft, he goes in the 7th or 8th round and could be and should be the number 2 wide receiver in the Buffalo Bills offense. We all saw in the playoffs up against the Kansas City Chiefs the crazy upside Gabe Davis has. Now, is it very likely that he's going to score that many fucking touchdowns in a game this year? Probably not. But but this is an offense that you want to be linked to. You want to be linked to an offense as good as the Buffalo Bills, so I think Gabe Davis is a steal inside of the 7th round. After Gabe Davis, we see Dallas Goedert, followed by a quarterback run of Tampa Bay Tom Brady, Dickie Dak Prescott, Mr. Discount double check Aaron Rodgers, Kenneth Gainwell, Hunter Renfrow, Drake London, Tony Pollard, Rashad Penny, and Elijah Moore. Since we have Kyler Murray, I want to make this clear. I'm not drafting a backup quarterback. I think you are hurting your team by drafting a backup quarterback. You are going to assume when you draft Kyler Murray in the 5th round that this motherfucker is going to be an upper echelon quarterback, that this guy could be the #1 quarterback in fantasy football. So why do you need to draft someone else? Right? Week 13, your team's going to look a lot different by week 13. Injuries happen, waiver wire, you can do things on the waiver wire, and trades are going to happen on your fantasy football team. Potentially. The waivers definitely going to happen. Injuries more than likely are going to happen. So by week 13, you can just easily pick up a quarterback to play in that spot. So we're still without a tight end, but this is another rule that I want to talk about in fantasy football. You don't have to fill out your roster and then start drafting your bench players. A lot of newer players now, if you're a more experienced player, you already know this. But if you're a newer player, you don't have to draft because you have your whole team full here. You don't just have to push for a tight end. You don't have to draft a kicker or a defense. Don't draft a kicker or a defense until the last 2 rounds down here. At this pick, we are either going to go with Devin Singletary or Chase Edmonds. Now, the fact that we just drafted Gabe Davis, I don't think we necessarily need this crazy correlation in a redraft league of the Buffalo Bills. Again, the Bills are going to be good. But you want to know who else I believe is going to be good? Chase Edmonds. If we didn't have Gabe Davis, you definitely could draft Devin Singletary here. But here, we're going to go with Chase Edmonds, the running back #1 of the Miami Dolphins, a team that is going to look to run the ball a lot under head coach Mike McDaniel, obviously from the 49ers. That's a run-heavy team. We know what's going to be happening in Miami, and I love Chase Edmonds. As I'm a Dolphins fan, I pay so much attention to the team. I pay attention to every fucking team, right? But when I see something about the Dolphins, it always makes me light up. And looking at the preseason game with Tua Tagovailoa in the game, looks like Chase Edmonds is going to be catching a bunch of passes for the Miami Dolphins. After Chase Edmonds comes Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Devin Singletary, Treylon Burks, Zach Ertz, Dawson Knox one time, if you're with me, Tyler Lockett. Then we see James Cook, Allen Lazard, Chris Olave, Matthew Stafford, and Pat Freiermuth. So the tight ends here, things are starting to get sticky. Things are starting to get bad. And I'm not reaching here. I'm not just thinking, oh shit, the tight ends are looking bad. Let me reach. No. If Freiermuth was there, I'm slam dunking that pick in. Potentially, we do have Deontay Johnson, so that might scare me away a little bit. But I do like Pat Freiermuth a ton, so I might have selected him. I do like Cole Kmet, but I've taken him so much in these mock draft videos that I don't want these things to all look exactly the same. You want to get different analysis in these videos, so we're not drafting him. We're going to continue to wait here. Could go with another running back as well, and then kind of just fade them for a while, and I think that's going to be the case here. I want to go with Dameon Pierce. I think he's the best running back available. I love Ramondre Stevenson, but there have been some reports recently that are a little bit more pro Damian Harris, that maybe Damian Harris could be the 3-down back for the team. So I think I have to not overcorrect for Damian Harris. Like, I don't want to be drafting Damian Harris in the 7th round, but if he fell to me in the 8th round and the choice was Ramondre Stevenson versus Damian Harris, sometimes I'm going to want to take the gamble on Damian Harris because I do still believe he's a solid player. I like Ramondre Stevenson, but Dameon Pierce is the clear #1 running back on this team. Maybe at the beginning of the year for some reason, because the Houston Texans organization is so fucking brain dead, maybe they go ahead and play Marlon Mack week 1. But by week 3, I would be shocked if Pierce wasn't the starter, and you should be shocked genuinely if Pierce isn't the guy game #1. They didn't even play Pierce in week 2 of preseason because it's so clear that he's the starter. At least that's my look at it. I love Dameon Pierce. I've been banging the drum for him all offseason, and I'm very happy to see him fall to me in the 9th round. He was a guy a couple of weeks ago you could have gotten in like the 14th round, but people are starting to catch on to my main man, Dameon Pierce. After Pierce, we see Trey Lance, one of the quarterbacks I really like. I think this is just a stupid strategy here. Now, I like Trey Lance, but drafting Joe Burrow at the 508, and then drafting Trey Lance at the 9.8, it just really makes no sense to me. After that, we see Robert Woods, Melvin Gordon, Christian Kirk, Garrett Wilson, Tyler, yeah, Boyd, Mike Gesicki, followed by Chase Claypool, Ramondre Stevenson, and Kadarius Toney. Make sure that if you guys are new to the channel, that you do hit the like button, you do hit that subscribe button down below, and even if you aren't new, make sure you hit that like button. It really does help us out a ton, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I love hopping on the comment section, answering questions. I love doing it, so if you have any questions, ask It helps the algorithm out a ton as well. Helps get this video seen by more people like yourself. So I really do love you guys. I appreciate that. Please make sure that you do that. So we're back up here at the 10:06. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more picks after that. So in reality, we have 3 more picks after this because we have to take a kicker and a defense. So here we're going to probably go wide receiver again. I do like Cole Kmet, but I don't want to just draft him every single time, right? We've talked about him so much, and I do really believe that if you're in like 10 redraft leagues, you shouldn't be drafting the same tight end in every league because, well, maybe he is the league winner, right? Maybe he does become, Cole Kmet is the next fucking Travis Kelce. But what if he isn't? What if he finishes as like tight end 9? Then while that was a value, it was a bargain where you got him, that's not moving the needle for you to win your league. So I think you should be taking more shots on guys if you're playing in a decent amount of leagues. Skye with 2 Ys, Moore's on my board, as well as George Pickens, Russell Gage, MVS, Julio Jones. I've talked a lot about MVS and how I think he could end up being the #1 receiver on this team. But again, to that narrative that I just talked about, I want to also get Skye Moore, because the same argument I make about MVS, you can make about Skye Moore. There's a lot more unknowns with Skye Moore, right? This is his rookie year. He's never fucking played in the NFL. We've seen MVS for years in Green Bay, never really get it done. I'm not saying MVS is a bad player. I love MVS in fantasy football, but there's this unknown factor about Skye Moore that almost makes him a sexy pick in fantasy, because he could really turn out to be amazing this year. I still like MVS though, so don't want to go ahead and make you guys think I hate MVS magically now. He's one of those other guys that I'm just fucking hammering on the drums, beating aggressively for this man. Pause. After Skye Moore, we see Derek Carr, followed by Cole Kmet, Alexander Madison, Kirk Cousins. You like that? James Robinson, George Pickens, Justin Tucker the fucker, Michael Carter, Albert O, Bills defense, Rams defense, and the Buccaneers defense. But before we get into this pick, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor of today's video. That's right, the people that have been on the screen the whole time, the people that I alluded to earlier, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the single best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money, $2 million to first place. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. You don't have to worry about calling up your friend to try to go ahead and make a trade. Then he doesn't want to talk to you. He's busy. Oh, I have a job. Things like that, right? Fuck that guy. Like, quit your job. It's fantasy football season. That's not obvious advice. It's just funny. I thought that would be funny to add into the ad, right? So there's no trades, there's no waivers. You don't have to sit up on Tuesday night all night long setting waivers. And there's no in-season management. You don't even have to worry about setting your lineup, because Underdog will automatically give you the best lineup at the end of the week. Once all the scores are in, they throw your best, highest scores into your lineup. And last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted in June. Now we're in draft season, right? It's August 24th as you're watching this. It's draft season. But you don't have to wait until, maybe some people wait until prime draft season, right? Labor Day. You don't have to wait until Labor Day to draft your best ball team, because last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up using promo code, I pointed the wrong way, promo code Stokastic, Stokastic, and that's good for 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament. Make sure that you guys click on the link in the video description, because not only will you be getting that deposit match, that first deposit match bonus, you'll also be getting our Best Ball draft guide and our fantasy football draft guide for 100% free. So back on in to the video here. We are up at pick 11.7. And here we got to check to see if we're in position still to just draft 1 tight end, because eventually you get into a point where, well, I don't like drafting 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends. There's points in fantasy football drafts where you actually have to draft 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends. Right now, best tight ends available: Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Irv Smith, Noah Fant, David Njoku, Gerald Everett, Robert Tonyan. I'm going to wait 1 more round, and now I'm going to draft Robert Tonyan. I love Robert Tonyan's upside this year. We have 4 running backs. We're going to go with a wide receiver, a running back, and a tight end we need. So we're going to go ahead and keep a very even build, in my opinion. Looking at the running backs here, I love Nyheim Hines. I like Jonathan Taylor this year, but there's so much talk about how Nyheim Hines is going to be seeing usage while Jonathan Taylor is on the field. They're going to put both of them out there, and I think the upside is really big for Nyheim Hines as a player. I think this offense is going to be really good with Matt Ryan under center. After Nyheim Hines comes the 49ers, Evan McPherson, Daniel Carlson, Russell Gage, the Ravens defense, Harrison Butker the fucker, the Chargers defense, MVS, Saints, and Matt Gay. So we're up here. We're going tight end. We're definitely going to snag my guy, Robert Tonyan. Now, there's still a chance he misses week 1. So if you want to keep it safe, you want to make sure you have a tight end that can play week 1. Maybe don't draft Robert Tonyan, but I really think the upside, and I've said this for a lot of these players, but the upside is really big with Tonyan because this is an offense that lost Devontae Adams. I have Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones, but there's a chance that Tonyan scores a crazy amount of touchdowns like he did not last year, but the year prior. There's a big chance of that without Devontae Adams, and Rodgers relies heavily. He relies so heavily on the connection that he has with players, and he has that 4G LTE crazy ass connection with Robert Tonyan. So that's why I like Robert Tonyan. After Tonyan, we see Matt Prater, Tyler Bass, Jarvis Landry, Isaiah Spiller, Cowboys, Julio Jones, Hunter Henry, Nick Folk, Darrell Henderson, Rashad White, Tua Tagovailoa, and Michael Gallup. So here, since we went with the running back, we're going to go with a wide receiver to close out the draft here. I talked about Rondale Moore, but then we're pot committed into the Arizona Cardinals. And I really don't want to be starting 3 fucking Cardinals in any given week. So I'm going to stay away from Rondale Moore. And I think Rondale Moore is just really good for those first couple of weeks. And then I think his stock's going to kind of plummet down a decent amount once DeAndre Hopkins returns. So here we are going to go ahead and just go with best receiver available. I like Devontae Parker. We did see Tyquan Thornton get hurt, and maybe Tyquan Thornton was going to take Devontae Parker's role potentially, but now he's out for like 8-10 weeks, so Parker's in a really good spot. I like Jahan Dotson as well. Jamison Williams is one of those players that you can draft and just put on your IR. And then just pick up another player after the draft. That's a strategy that I like to utilize in fantasy football drafts, is just draft a guy that's banged up, you throw him on the IR, then instantly after the draft, you just pick up another wide receiver. You'll be just fine. So you can go with Jameson Williams. My pick here, I love Jalen Tolbert. I'm going to go with DJ Chark, the other wide receiver in the Detroit Lions offense. DJ Chark has been very, very good in training camp. All reports out of camp have been very positive towards DJ Chark. We have seen DJ Chark do it in the past in Jacksonville. Obviously, Jared Goff isn't the greatest quarterback ever, but you don't need the greatest quarterback ever to succeed, especially in Detroit, because they're going to be passing the ball a lot deep into games because they're going to be down because their defense really just ain't all that hot. After DJ Chark, we see Rondale Moore, followed by Christian Watson, Tyler Higbee, Kenny Gainwell, and then we see Justin Fields, Irv Smith, Ronald Jones, the Colts defense, Tyler Algier, and Jahan Dotson. So in my opinion, I think defense is more important to draft than a kicker. You can obviously think differently. Do it the other way, it's okay. Sometimes I draft kicker before defense too. I want to be drafting my defense based upon the opponent they have week 1. That offense they're playing week 1. The Broncos are facing the Seattle Seahawks. There will be a video this week on this channel that you're not going to want to miss. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, right? You're not going to want to miss it, where I talk about the must-draft defenses, because these are the defenses that have the best matchups for week number 1, in my opinion. Cleveland Browns are another one going up against Carolina. I love the Denver Broncos up against Seattle. They are going to wipe the fucking floor with either Horsecock, Drew Lock, or Geno Smith. After the Broncos defense comes Jameson Williams, Brian Robinson, Brandon McManus. The Packers defense, Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers Steelers, Trevor Lawrence, Young Ho Koo, my old bitch lame, but my Young Ho Koo, J.D. McKissick, Marlon Mack, and Khalil Herbert. So our final pick here, we're going with kicker. You can pull up some kicker rankings if you want. I'm just going to take the best kicker available, in my opinion, and that is either Robbie Gould or Rodrigo. You sunk my Blankenship. You can go either way. I'm going with Blankenship. So after him, we see Noah Fant, followed by famous Jameis, Ida W. Winston, Deshaun Watson, Robbie Gould, and Maki Mock Ingram. So I'm going to go ahead and make myself do the electric slide, put myself on top of Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you check that out as well. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick recap of our team. So this is the team we constructed in today's video. Our first pick was Justin Jefferson, followed by Aaron Jones, James Conner, Deontay Johnson, Kyler Murray, Rashad Master Bateman, Gabe Davis, Chase Edmonds, Damian Pierce, Skye with 2 Ys more, Naheem Hines, Robert Tonyan, DJ Chark, baby Chark, the Denver Broncos defense, and Rodrigo Blankenship. Team looks beautiful. Looks amazing. This looks like a league winner. Let me know in the comments some picks you didn't like from me, some picks you didn't like outside of my picks, some picks you loved, and maybe some things you would have done different in the draft. I do really appreciate all the comments, the likes, everything you guys do. It really means the world to me. I love you guys so much. I really do hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, guys, good boy.